Welcome to my notes, snippet for topic 1.1, Developments in East Asia. This topic is mostly about the Song dynasty, and how China influenced neighbors like Vietnam, Korea, and Japan. It was also influenced by other places. Keep the image of a big brother in mind. China is like a big brother, as other East Asian states want to be like it, and it is kind of a bully sometimes, forcing other states to do things their way. Keep this question in mind throughout the entire unit. How did states establish and maintain power in 1200 to 1450? Each topic will provide insight and details about the social, political, environmental, cultural, economic, and technological events that enabled states to get and keep power. Spice tea is a great way to keep track. The Sui, Tang, and Song dynasties in East Asia saw the reunification of China, the building of the Grand Canal, the invention of gunpowder, the development of champa rice, the growth of artisanal production, the use of the tribute system, the invention of paper, and a hierarchical social structure. These developments allowed for economic growth, technological innovation, and cultural exchange between China and the rest of the world, as well as the adoption of Confucianism and the civil service exam system. These developments had a lasting impact on the development of Chinese civilization and the other societies of East Asia. Pause the video here so you can write down these important key terms. The illustrative examples are specific examples College Board provides to highlight what the key concept is talking about. Here are a few more key terms. Pause the video so you can write them down, then define them on your own. These are some important people you will encounter in this topic. Pause the video so you can write them down, along with what they are known for. Xinghe has more details you should look up on your own. He's pretty important. During the Song dynasty, there was a time of prosperity in economics, culture, and technology. The dynasty built on the achievements of previous dynasties and made a lot of money from Silk Road trade. The government was centralized, and the emperor had supreme power, which was believed to be given by the mandate of heaven. This was a continuation from previous eras. The government was based on a vast imperial bureaucracy, which was also a continuation from previous dynasties. The bureaucracy consisted of appointed officials who carried out the empire's policies and were selected through civil service exams. These exams were based on Confucian texts, which promoted moral values and social harmony among the officials and the people. The bureaucracy was a meritocracy, meaning officials were chosen based on their ability and performance, not birth or wealth. The Song dynasty built upon Tang gunpowder use by making the first weapons and spreading the technology across the Silk Road. The Grand Canal connected the Yellow River and the Yangtze River, linking northern and southern China. This enabled rapid transportation and response to crises like famine. During the Song dynasty, the champa rice was imported from Vietnam, which allowed farming to spread to lands where rice could not grow before, such as lowlands, riverbanks, and hills. In some areas, it allowed farmers to grow 2 crops of rice per year. New irrigation and fertilizing methods also increased production. Proto-industrialization occurred, and steel and iron production increased. Textiles and porcelain were produced for export. The Song dynasty continued to benefit from and improve on existing innovations, such as paper money, the compass, ships, and financial practices like banking houses and paper money. Filial piety dictated social interactions, which meant respect for elders and people in higher status. The 5 constant relationships established roles for everyone in society in order to promote and protect social harmony. The social structure was hierarchical, with the emperor at the top, followed by scholars, farmers, artisans, and merchants. Women had limited rights and often played domestic roles. Foot binding was a painful practice where women's feet were bound to fit into tiny shoes, reflecting beauty ideals but causing physical harm. Go to YouTube to watch this video on the foot binding tradition. Buddhism was imported from India along the Silk Road and became popular by the 600s. Different branches of Buddhism had different appeals, such as Theravada, Mahayana, and Tibetan. Theravada Buddhism follows the original teachings of Buddha and focuses on individual enlightenment through meditation and personal liberation from suffering. Mahayana Buddhism believes in helping not only oneself but also others achieve enlightenment. Tibetan Buddhism combines elements from the other 2 branches and adds special rituals and practices. They also have spiritual leaders called lamas, like the Dalai Lama. Neo-Confucianism and Buddhism had a growing impact on government and society. This combination of beliefs, called syncretism, also influenced other East Asian countries like Japan, Korea, and Vietnam. This is like the idea of China being a big brother. Other places wanted to be like China, and sometimes China pushed their influence on others. Make sure you write down syncretism and remember that term. It's very important from now on. Syncretism is the blending or mixing of different religious beliefs or practices to create something new. For example, imagine two groups of people with different religions meeting. They might borrow ideas, rituals, or even gods from each other's religions and combine them into a new way of worship. So, syncretism is like a fusion of different religious traditions to create something unique that reflects the blending of cultures and beliefs. During the Tang Dynasty, printing was invented and later improved during the Song Dynasty. Characters were carved onto wooden blocks, ink was applied, and then pressed onto paper. Movable type printing was later developed, which allowed for faster and more flexible printing. The invention of paper and printing enabled the mass production of books, which increased the availability of knowledge and information. This also stimulated the development of literature, especially poetry, history, and philosophy. Chinese literary and scholarly traditions spread to Heian Japan and Korea. The Heian period in Japan saw the flourishing of Japanese culture, particularly literature, art, and courtly traditions. This era is known for the tale of Genji, Japan's first novel, and also the influence of Chinese culture on Japanese society. Japanese rulers promoted Confucianism and Buddhism, along with Shintoism, which is a syncretism of beliefs. Shintoism is a great example of syncretism because it shows how different religious traditions can come together and blend to create something new. Shintoism is a Japanese religion that has been influenced by other belief systems over time. Originally, the Japanese people had their own native beliefs and practices. They worship nature spirits, ancestors, and sacred places. This was the early form of Shintoism. Around the 6th century, Buddhism was introduced to Japan from China and Korea. When Buddhism arrived, it didn't replace Shintoism but instead started to mix with it. People began to incorporate Buddhist ideas and rituals into their Shinto practices. Over time, a syncretic blend of Shintoism and Buddhism emerged. People built Buddhist temples and Shinto shrines side by side. They started to see the Shinto gods as manifestations of Buddha or bodhisattvas. This blending of beliefs and practices is a clear example of syncretism. That's Mr. Benki in Japan in 2019, exploring Shinto and Buddhist sites. Here's another, just to flex. These intellectual developments had a significant influence on East Asia. Here again we see China like a big brother, either inspiring or enforcing their ways in other states. Sinification is a bit like when the big brother's cool fashion sense and styles start to rub off on the younger siblings. In this case, it means that the neighboring countries adopted Chinese customs, writing, art, and even government systems because they thought they were impressive. For example, Japan borrowed Chinese characters for their writing system, which is why you might see Chinese characters in Japanese writing even today. Korea also adopted elements of Chinese culture, like Confucianism, and used Chinese writing for official documents. It's like how sometimes a big brother's interests and tastes influence the younger siblings. In the same way, China's influence on its neighbors' cultures and traditions is called sinification, showing how it played a big role in shaping the region's history. This image is an example of the similarities in writing styles because of shared cultural characteristics. Sinification is a very important concept to remember for this topic. Pause so you can check out this map. Discover more useful content and resources at mrb.world. Thanks for watching.